Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be here and to have the possibility to present you our projects. And I have to say that unfortunately, Karolina Jara is prevented to join us. But I will manage. I hope I will manage to present the whole presentation. So we would like to speak about the new synagogue in the light of a semantic web and the construction of digital memorial landscapes. And to give you a small introduction from the side of the computer graphics and the technology, we are able today to present immersive worlds of past, like here in the games engine Assassin's Creed from Ubisoft 2014. You see Paris at the time of the French Revolution, and you can jump in and you can walk through it, and you can enter this worlds that's past. And this is in the games industry with a total turnover of $150 billion a year. And on the other side, we have this increasing increasing possibilities coming from the technology, and we have increasing numbers of 3D reconstructions of 3D digital assets at the computer in the internet. But this is a big, this is a few ephemeral data. It is a data that is hard to access. And we are talking about something that can be brought to connection with the Tower of Babel, that every project is speaking its own language, and the research data is not communicating with each other. And result, we have something in the big projects, digital projects, that we can call digital elephant graveyards. And because we are having our research data on hard drives and data silos, and then research data is not interoperable and is not linked together. And here we had the great possibility to start a project, in the field of digital or spatial humanities, funded by the federal government Commissioner for Culture and the Media, in the funding program from 2017 to 2020, where the Hochschule Mainz, together with the University in Wrocław and some local players, got the grant to research, to make research on German Jews' life words in former German East regions. And we did it on the example of a new synagogue in Breslau, and that you see here in this picture. And that was an immense landmark, and which dominated the skyline from the south. And we wanted to look up in this architecture at the time where Jews, Catholics, and Protestants have something that is comparable with the competition of faiths. This was also a research issue of Professor Zabłocka-Kos at the university in Wrocław. So where these three faiths started big projects. This is the one of the Jews, and this was the one of the Catholics at the same time. And the other one was from the Protestants, where we have just the competition in text form. And we tried with our students to make a reconstruction of the proposed competitions for the Church of the Survivor. And so we tried to reconstruct them on the text and description. And the one that was then later built is this small church. So this was also an aspect of we wanted to make research on. And on the other side, we have persons and natural persons like Edwin Oppler, a Jewish architect who was a star architect in the field of synagogue architecture. At the same time, some few years earlier, you can say at the same time, he made the project, and also he built this Hanover synagogue. which is also comparable in many aspects with the synagogue in Breslau. And of course, we wanted also to make a survey on the pattern reception, so on synagogues that are influenced by the architecture of Edwin Oppler and his manifesto. So to sum up, we had something like a mind map in the beginning of the project, where we situated that we want to make a research and we want to capture all of this social cultural context that is concentrated around the planning and the construction of the new synagogue. So the Jewish community, the architect, his other synagogue projects. Then below you see the manifest of synagogue architecture written by Edwin Oppler, that was influenced by the Rhineland architecture and the Schumstätte. And on the other side, this competition of faiths, so the Church of Catholics and the Protestant competition. To capture all this information, we in a way that computer and human can read them and understand the research data. We are using the so-called CDOC CRM model. So this was our data model to describe all the information surrounded or surrounding or accompanying the 3D model of the synagogue. And in our case, we have in the middle of our data model the research activity. For instance, the reconstruction of the western part. So we are talking about entities and then properties, so the relations. So this, for instance, the research activity, reconstruction of western part of the new synagogue was carried out by Kinga Vrenk. She's a natural person, a student. And this is a CDOC CRM reference. So you see this entities E7 and property 14, they are coming from this international standards CDOC CRM. The reconstruction and the research activity that is use specific object, and in this case we are using historical sources that are documenting the objects that we are modeling. And this documents are these sources are documenting so properties 70, the so-called E22 man-made object, and in our case, when we are in this example, this is the man-made object new synagogue western part that we are reconstructing. And this man-made object has a modification, and this modification was carried out by Edwin Oppler, so a historical person. And on the other side, this research activity creates the so-called information object, and this is, in our case, the digital model, so E73. And this digital model is connected to the man-made object via the connection P130, shows features of. And on the other side, you see that we have also rights, the so-called licenses to this digital object. And the rights are Creative Commons, and they are possessed by the natural person Kinga Vrenk. So the last point that we also mapped or captured in our process is that, for instance, the man-made object, the new synagogue western part, are showing features of another man-made object. For instance, from the objects similar to the objects used in Hanover. So this is in the connection to other objects and to other architecture to make the research on it. And you see that this was produced by the modification design of the Hanover synagogue, which was also carried out by Edwin Oppler. So to work with this data model and to capture all this stuff, we set up a virtual research environment, web-based research environment, where we have field-based entry, keyworded text entry, 2D and 3D annotation, and interactive viewer, and immediate discourse on 3D data. In the backend, we have the so-called linked data. This is something that computer can understand the meaning and that our data is linked to other resources that use also this standard. And we have users like historians and art historians who are indexing these sources. And the main thing is by the 3D reconstruction, they are identifying objects in these sources. And then they are uploading these sources to our repository. And on the other side, using the same infrastructure, using the same virtual research environment, modelers, in our case architects, are interpreting the sources and are modeling based on the sources the 3D objects, and then they are uploading the 3D objects. And all this information is then linked and is together and is connected and lies in a, for computers, meaningful way and from human beings also, because we are using the linked open data technology. Coming back to the historical building information modeling that we used, we subdivided the synagogue. So now we will present you the process of the reconstruction. As we had many actors, students, and research collaborators in our institute, and you see that we tried to divide the work within 3 semesters. So we worked on it 1.5 years. And for instance, in the beginning, we divided, we said that Kinga is reconstructing the main parts and the parts of Western parts, and we subdivided it into two parts, and then we are identifying based on the historical resources all the objects. You see it here. So we are taking the historical sources, and then we are making an analysis. What are the objects that we have to model, and we are naming them and collecting them so we can compare them also with other architecture. Then back into in a 3D software, in our case Archicad. This is a case of reconstructing the rose window. We are implementing this source, the historical source, and showing also what we are reconstructing. And then you see here there are already modeled 3D objects of the rose window. And here we have the possibility within this building information modeling software that is in current use in the civil engineering today. We have the possibility to add attributes, to add attributes to these objects. And in our case, we prepared a new attribute that is the connection, the URL, the link, the web link to our virtual research environment with all the mapped information. So you see here the rose windows within the synagogue, and in the settings, if you open it, you see that we have our own field that we added with the information about the link to our virtual research environment. And you see here the whole synagogue, which is combined, which unites all the elements, and we did already we textured also the inner the interior based on the very nice colored section that we found in Hanover, in the archive in Hanover. And so this is the whole architecture, and now I will pick one element. So we see now the attributes that belong to the object of a rose window type 1 that Kinga reconstructed. And here under classification and settings, you see our link, the web link to our virtual research environment. So all the objects in this model has additional information to our virtual research environments and links this 3D model and representation with our research data. And to show you our research data, we have now the possibility to export this model out of Archicad via the international standards, the so-called IFC file. that it can be read by many other software packages and is sustainable and interoperable and reusable. And after exporting it via IFC, we can open it in a web-based solutions like Solibri, and where you see the whole structure of the model, and you can share this model easily. You can check this model, making sections as you want. But the most interesting thing is that this model is full of information, the objects. For instance, you see here now the link. So we are now at the crown, bottom of the Lateran crown, and you can click on it, and you see, for instance, coming from Archicad, this information that we add to the link to our virtual research environment. So we can click it, and now we are already inside the research environment that is open. You can visit it under this address. And here you see the research activity of a reconstruction of this crown. On the above, you see all the other elements. We have objects, sources, research activities, historical events, natural persons. So you will find here, for instance, the author of this model, but also the historical persons like Opler or the Jewish community. And then we have all the metadata that is accompanied to this research activity. So, for instance, the type is 3D reconstruction that we link with Wikidata and Wikipedia. So this is the Wikipedia link. And then you see the creation. So the actors, the Synagigue did the creation of it, but Kinga participated, and it was produced in Mainz. And now we can see Synagigue as a natural person, which is a member of our institute, and our institute is also here captured in this system, and all the members are linked to the institute. So, and below in our virtual research environments, you can see all the reconstruction activities carried out by this natural person, Synagigue. So all the elements that she identified and she modeled are here. And this is her division and the identifying of the objects. So it's also uploaded as a source. So she used the historical source for it to make this sketch and to make this identification. And we have also here in our data set the metadata and holder the rights on this historical source. And we see also which objects are represented on this historical source. So I will repeat all this pathway now in the next slide with you, because we wanted to show here just the linkage between all the elements and the visualization that is supported by the virtual research environment. So this is now, we are now in the object of the central part, dome part. And you see here that this object has a reconstruction activity with the rights of the models. You can download the 3D model in different file formats. And you see here that this dome has all these elements inside, and that this dome is represented in this as historical research, historical sources. The interesting thing is here that you see here on the object also is related to. So this dome part, and we wanted to capture. You see that we have the possibility to show relations, and this dome part is related to a synagogue in Kłodzko and Bogów, and also to the dome in Aachen and synagogue at Königsberg, for instance. And if we click now to the dome of Aachen Cathedral. We have here that it is a part of the whole Aachen Cathedral. So via this part of connections, we can capture the whole architecture. And in our case, this new synagogue in Wrocław, we did also this survey on the other projects from Protestants and Catholics. And this is the starting point of our virtual research environment where we introduce the project. But an interesting thing here may be on the starting point of the project, so the landing page, that we also are taking out of our database the locations, and we are showing them on the map, locations on all other synagogue projects of Opera. So for instance, and we have this backlink from this visualization on the map to the entry of the object, where we can capture all the data of this synagogue. And we have also here, similar to other objects, but it's shown in a book. And now we have these connections to other repositories. For instance, this book on synagogues, which is here in Baukunde Archiv, in other repository. You can just go there and read it online. So these are the other linked data resources that we can connect to. And we showed you now the connect with our research, virtual research environment and the linkage to the 3D model. So just to repeat, we have our 3D model where where additional information is added to each object. And we showed you that then we have a possibility to click on each element and to get directly to the comprehensive management of data in our virtual research environment. And we have in the research activities the description who modeled this element and based on which sources. And we are capturing also objects that we are representing with our 3D model. But we have also the relations from our objects of interest to other and similar objects that we identify. And then we have also this possibility to make to interlink objects to other resources and to other digital resources, what is shown here. So our goal was here in this project to show a new approach in the digital visualization, creating a digital memorial landscape. And we mean with this to create a research data set that is comprehensive. It is not just prepared for visualization like here, but it is also prepared for digital humanities approach. So you can grab and you can use our data that is connected to the 3D model in a way that it is operable and you can make operations with it. So beyond the 3D visualization, we have also this augmented reality app for dissemination. This is an additional possibility with this project that we can make different derivatives out of the data. So we can use it as a data bank, database, and that is human and machine readable using CDOC-CRM data model. But we can then also make different promotional materials like these postcards that we send it from Breslau to the whole world. So thank you for your attention at this point, and I hope that you got an impression and of this digital humanities project.